Welcome, friends. This is Casey with Astrology. Today we're talking about the full moon in the sign of Scorpio. Every time we have a full moon in Scorpio, we must take into consideration the fact that the moon is in detriment in the sign of Scorpio. We know when the moon is in the sign of Taurus, the opposite of Scorpio, it's in its place of exaltation. So this places the moon in its fallen state, what we can call the most difficult place for the moon to be in astrology. When we begin to look at Scorpio as a sign and its expression, we know Scorpio as an internal sign. It is the watery yin fixed sign of the zodiac. It is ruled by the planet Mars, the planet of action, aggression, cutting, war, things of that nature. But when we talk about the sign of Scorpio, these are of yin quality, they are of internal quality. And since Scorpio is a water sign, it is of emotional nature. When we have the moon here, which is correlated with our emotions, correlated with our mind, our body, our own expression, we must look at this full moon here, which the sun shines the light on for all to see, and understand what this means in our own particular lives. When we have a full moon in the sign of Scorpio, it gives us an opportunity to see what we're holding back, what we're hiding from other people, and what we need to learn to be vulnerable with. Now, it's important to understand that when we keep these things close to our chest, whatever they may be, in regards to our emotional values, our qualities, we can understand with this full moon that there's something that we need to let go of. Each time we have a full moon, there's a time of letting go, a time of release. So we can use this very moment when the full moon culminates on the 1st of May, this Friday, Eastern Direct Time. It will be around 1 p.m. Eastern Direct Time. Depending on where you are in the world, it'll be a bit different. But we can use the 3 days prior, which this video is being recorded on Wednesday, and the 3 days after to get a flavor of this experience. In my own personal experience, usually when the moon is in Scorpio, it feels like a heavy energy. It feels like a sadness. But when these things come up, we have to take a look at our lives and see what is causing this. There's never any cause without a previous action. There's never an experience without a previous experience. So we need to look at our own lives and see what causes these things to occur. What previous thoughts, what previous experiences, what simple feelings. And we know that feelings are tied to the connections with people that we have, the decisions that we need to make, the things that we want or need in our own lives. So the reasoning for this full moon can be very diverse in our own particular lives. We're going to pull up a chart shortly to delineate this full moon, to look at the dispositor or the ruler of the full moon, which is Mars, sitting in the sign of Aries in its other home, the fiery yang domicile of Mars. And we can see what other planets are aspecting to that Mars, what other planets are aspecting to the moon, if any. And we can determine for ourselves what this full moon can be expressing. And as we share the chart, we can see that the moon is at 11 degrees during the culmination aspect on the 1st of May. When we look at the full moon in Scorpio, we can see that there are no aspects except for the opposition to the sun that are closely correlated to that full moon. We use a 3 degree orb range here. Me, as a traditional Hellenistic astrologer, the aspects that I use are of the ancient techniques. So we don't use the quincunx and the in conjunct the other modern aspects. So as of this chart, the only opposition that I mean, the only aspect that we have is the opposition with the sun. So when we begin to ponder the sun in the sign of Taurus, we can understand that the sun here is of a fixed nature. It is of a consistent nature. So when we have a full moon, a time of letting go in our internal world in the sign of Scorpio, we need to notice what needs to be let go of in order for us to embark on a journey to move forward and gain new experiences, new insights. As we know, we just had the planet Uranus move into the sign of Gemini from that sign Taurus. So things are going to pick up speed. If you've seen my last video in regards to the ingress of Uranus into Gemini, there's many different things that'll be occurring in our lives. Many different connections we'll receive. But in order to receive new connections, in order to be a part of new relationships and experiences, we inherently have to change. A lot of the time, we naturally think that in order to change our external world, our external experience, we just have to do something else. We have to move to a new place. We have to change relationships, change friendships, change the places that we frequent. But the truth is, we need to change our internal experience, because if we don't, we'll be faced with those same trials and tribulations, those same types of relationships and connections that we've always dealt with. Because life is here to teach us lessons and help us to learn more about ourselves. And if we can't learn these simple things, and sometimes they're not simple, sometimes they're very diverse, very difficult to comprehend, because life and society turns us into an external experience and leaves behind our internal world. So when we have these full moons in Scorpio, it's putting on the forefront our inner experience, the things that we need to look at about ourselves from the inside out. And when we can let go of some of these things, we can embrace these things, allow these things to be integrated, then we can see a real change in our own personal experiences. Now, with the dispositor or the ruler, Mars, of this full moon in the sign of Aries, it is at home. It is of dignified energy. It carries the energy of action, moving forward. And we can understand that when we have the planet Mars in the sign of Aries, that full moon needs to carry that same energy. So we need to move forward intensely towards understanding our internal experience, understanding the things that we're faced with about ourselves. Maybe it's in our relationship house, our one-on-one partnership. If we happen to be a Taurus rising, maybe there's something we need to look at in the relationship eyes, in the mirror of our partner. We're not going to do horoscopes today, but we can simply understand that with a full moon in the sign of Scorpio, the things that are usually hidden are not so hidden for us. Maybe we're keeping them away from other people, but maybe there are people a part of this situation that gain an experience with you, that get to see a part of yourself that you don't usually show. So it is very important for us to be open to these experiences, because when we think about the sign of Scorpio as the scorpion, or the sign, when we think about it in a lower aspect, the one who seeks revenge or holds things in, becomes passive aggressive and very angry and bitter. It's important to understand that when we see the things about ourselves that we may not have necessarily been aware of, especially we happen to be a Sagittarius rising. A lot of the time, these things go right beneath our nose. When we begin to see these things and embrace these things, understand these parts of ourselves, we open the door for the change. We open the door for the new relationships, the new connections that the planet Uranus, moving into Gemini, is going to bring to us. Astrology is by no coincidence. It is of cyclical nature, so we need to be mindful of each and everything, each and every planetary connection that comes about, so that way we can see the story unfold in this divine science, or this form of a divination. As we know, we have the stellium still through the sign of Aries with Neptune and Saturn and Mercury. So we just need to take into consideration the multiplicity of energies that are still being impacted onto the planet Mars, while the moon is experiencing that Martian energy as well. We can keep talking about this planetary placement with the moon in Scorpio and basically beat a dead horse, but maybe you get the gist by now. There may be challenging emotional experience that arises. There may be challenging internal turmoil that comes to our clear awareness. And in order to overcome these things, we have to learn how to embrace them in order to be free of them. When we brush things under the rug, they only fester. So with the light of the sun shining onto this moon, making it full and bright for all to see, we are the ones who need to see it first and foremost, so that way we can learn from it. We can grow from it. May this full moon in the sign of Scorpio be very illuminating for you and your experience. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe so that people like you have an opportunity to gain this information. Because every time we learn and we listen to astrology, we're going to perceive it in different ways. It's always good to have multiple perspectives. Until the next time, friends, this is Casey with Aligned Astrology. We'll see you soon.